Hola, audiencia! I'm your host, Jason Eccles, and welcome to the Oyedimulo Cinema Club. Tonight, we're going to be experiencing the anime classic, Akira, or Ikira. I'm joined by fellow host, Don Dino Spezzini, JP, Isaac, Naomi, and of course, Steve. How'd I do?
Pretty good, pretty good. Keep going.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So the reason I chose this movie tonight, there's a few reasons. As always, I like to pick a movie that I've never seen before and I want to experience with a group of people. And you guys are our guinea pigs. Also, this is going to be our first anime review since we started the cinema club, so that should be fun. And this movie is very apropos for the moment. The movie takes place in 2020, Tokyo, just before the Olympics. And for those of you who don't know, the 2020 Olympics should be happening right now. Today is September 10th in real life. And the Olympics will be taking place right now. And they weren't because of a series of events, namely a global pandemic. The reason the Olympics are canceled in this movie will be revealed, but also as a preamble to this movie, it's the beginning. World War III has already just happened, and if you guys remember, in January, everyone was afraid that World War III was about to happen. So there are many parallels in this movie that we have to explore tonight. So that's why I chose it. Before I give you my initial opinion of this movie, I'm gonna let you guys go first. And why don't we start with the lady, Naomi? Why don't you tell us what your initial reaction and takes from this movie were?
So I'm somewhat familiar with Studio Ghibli and their animated films like Spirited Away, Ponyo, and Howl's Moving Castle, just to name a few. So I was expecting something. I was expecting. I was expecting something chill. Akira, on the other hand, it has this like cyberpunk style. And oh my God, 15 minutes in, and goddamn, I had to pause this shit and roll a fucking blunt just because this shit gave me so much fucking anxiety. Like, I had to enhance my ability to, accept what I was going to watch. So this film is action-packed. It's like, it has this human experimentation. There's anti-government groups, corrupt capitalists, parentless youth, and this animation is definitely not intended for children, so don't pick it up for your niece. Final thoughts.
Dino, what about your initial reactions?
It's complicated.
Sure, we're here for you.
So I had, I don't know, probably last year, I was going through a graphic novel phase, and an anime also phase. So, Howl's Moving Castle, all the Ghibli movies.
I think it's Galbi.
Okay, not in Spanish. Ghibli. So I decided to try Akira before I watched the anime. I was like, well, let me see if I can find it. So I started reading it, and it's just, I don't know, it feels super dense. So I was excited to watch it, but first impression, not a huge fan of it. I love certain scenes, certain moments, but it just didn't do it for me. It just felt that I was missing a lot of what was in the story, especially from the whatever amount of the manga I actually read. So I just felt like I was missing chunks of the story. And maybe it's just those little kids are too creepy. Like the black and white kids are just like, oh, they just feel creepy. I will say at the very beginning, because there's that explosion, all I could think of like, baby gender reveal party. That's me. I mean, because I watched it a couple days ago or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, that's what's gonna start this next World War III is gonna be a freaking
Baby
gender
gender
reveal
reveal.
party.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I wasn't. Yeah, it was fine. I wasn't super convinced by the anime or just the story itself. I feel like I've seen better versions out there. So
Okay, thank you, Dino. Isaac, please bless us with your initial opinion, reaction.
Well, I saw this movie for the first time like 10 years ago, but as a kid, I'd catch like certain, on TV, like certain scenes. And when I was a kid, it freaked me out. I think that's why it took me so long to actually watch it, because I mean, the blood and just like the adult content. But I appreciate it as an adult because of all those things that you had mentioned, like the parallels between now and the movie. And there's so much to go into. Like I haven't even really it took so much to process. But what I did notice was how much it was. I want to say influenced by Blade Runner, or the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" because of those children, the old experiments, but also like some of that movie that was out like not too long ago, or like 8 years ago. It's like a found footage movie with kids that have powers or something. But yeah, that one. But I mean, in terms of like the presentation, I love the cell animation. Like the colors are just so much more better than digital. The actual like detail in the animation is just incredible. And the action, I mean, it's just to me it has everything that I would want in a movie. Like the thought-provoking stuff with like the spectacle and like the visuals. It's just something that I enjoy to revisit every once in a while. But initially, it's definitely like a cultural phenomenon in both the East and the West. And that's pretty much. I think it holds up today. That's those are my initial reactions.
That's great. I want to revisit that last little bit a little bit later. Steve, what were your initial reactions?
My initial reaction was like, "Oh my god, I never seen this movie before, but I stole a bunch of content from this movie."
By accident?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a character called Rich Port, and that's like my pseudonym where I make music and I rap in Spanish. And I did my first ever concert doing the Rich Port character. Was in Club Bahia in Echo Park, and there was like a backdrop that you can use to put visuals there. And I just found visuals from the movie. And I was like, oh, those are cool visuals. It will go with my music. So basically, I grabbed clips from this movie and put it attuned with my music. So it looks like really cool. And I remember after performing, there were so many people telling me, oh, that was so cool that you used like Akira stuff. And I was just like, all right. It literally went over my head because I never seen this film. So when I started seeing the bike scene, because those were the scenes that I stole, that there was like trippy lights and stuff like that, I was like, oh snap! Like I seen this footage.
Yeah.
So the animation of it, I really enjoyed it. The context itself, I felt like Naomi, and maybe a little bit like, not like Dino necessarily, but like Naomi, that I was like a little anxious. It was giving me like a lot of anxiety, and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can just watch this movie in just like one sitting, like I had to like move and do other stuff while the movie was playing, because it was just giving me so much anxiety. Like a lot of things, a lot of the context that was happening, especially during the middle and towards the end of the movie. But in the beginning, initially, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is trippy. I don't get what's going on, but let's go with this ride. So yeah, those were my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Saruno, please bless us with your initial reaction.
Well, it's funny because like I I approached it with more of a revisiting because I've seen the film before, but to be honest, like it was so long ago that I might as well have watched a whole new film. And even like I know of a lot of references from this movie because in so much just animation in general, both in Japan and here in the States, like you can see a lot of cartoons that like the most scene that they homage to is actually the bike scene. This shot alone has been overdone to death
Yeah.
in a lot of cartoons. But it was crazy because like I knew that okay, this is gonna be some heavy stuff. It's gonna be kind of nuts, and I was definitely not expecting it to be. Because I remember when I first saw it, I was very confused. Watched it this time again, I was still very confused. And there was so many things that was going on that and the film like it doesn't put on the brakes. It keeps on going. Whether or not you catch up with what's going on, like that's kind of that's on the viewer to like that's on their shoulders because they don't stop. They keep going with this film, and oh my god, like I knew that there was gonna be a lot of like kind of gory visuals, but I didn't expect how like crazy and how easily they were gonna murk a lot of people inside. And I was really surprised at how like how still prevalent some of the stuff because like I thought it was so funny like oh this film is literally taking place what would have been today, what would have been now, and you see things that are eerily similar what's going on with us right now, like with again like government corruption and the people rising up. You see factions of like what's going on, even though it's weird how 2020 looks a lot like 1980 South Central LA. So, but like no, like it's crazy because like the film doesn't really present a good or a bad. I mean, you're basically in for the ride with these kids, and it was nuts. And I gotta appreciate that they decided not to go like too white and black with this. Like everyone has their goal, everyone has like their role in this role, what they feel is right. And some people they don't know what's right. They're just fucking like there. What's happening in their life? That's just reality. So like I'm not gonna lie, still confused. Visually beautiful, visually disgusting. It is heavy stuff, and unfortunately, I couldn't handle most of it to be honest. But it was a great film.
All right, that's fantastic. So my initial reaction within the first few minutes of this movie, I started thinking like, man, I wish I watched this in a cinema. I would really want to be in a dark space with a huge screen and seeing like this neon Tokyo, scroll across, this giant, screen for me. The movie still it feels very cinematic. For me, I wanted to ask you guys if you thought the movie held up, because it does take place in 1988, and obviously there's been a lot of advancements in technology and animation since then. So I do want to ask you guys about that a little bit later. For me, I felt like the movie did hold up, but there were obviously some things like the fashion felt very like what they feel the fashion would have been in the future from 1988. I saw the skinny ties on one of the character with the jacket and the pop collars and all that kind of stuff. Super cool motorcycle. Like I've seen people outfit customized motorcycles like that, like at auto shows and motorcycle shows and whatnot. And I've seen like different people do them on YouTube, and like that thing's super iconic. What I want to know is what I had just asked you guys. Do you guys think that movie holds up today compared to like anime now? Because this whole thing was hand drawn. Like there's no 3D in it. Like they drew this thing with their fingers and knuckles. What do you guys think?
If anything, like it holds up better than a lot of stuff now because, like people nowadays, like from what I've seen, it's very much budget orientated, and you rely so much on how quick a computer can do it. But to see just like the little sketches and drawings, like for each little detail, especially that motorcycle scene, where it almost doesn't feel like, because like you could kind of tell when you watch animation versus film, especially when it's hand drawn, that you have to approach those sort of films much differently than when you would in live action. But like with this one, it's almost like the motorcycle scene on its own. It's like they drew it to make it look like like you were in, like it was real life, because there's so much movement going on. It's not still, it's not staticky. Like you see a lot of stuff that like, oh, like if you're a filmmaker, that's exactly what you would want and what you would look for if you were to do it like with a camera. And that's exactly how the animators approached that one particular scene. Even the climax, I was like, oh my god, it's fucking crazy. I think the only, because they did have CGI back when they made this film. I think the only computer generated image that they used in the film was the little wavelength patterns that the one scientist was trying to see if I think Tetsuo and Akira's wavelengths were the same. That was the only CGI used in this movie, and like it holds up a lot better because you could appreciate, if you have a better appreciation, like, oh wow, if that's hard today, imagine how much harder it was back then. And you know, like you could tell that there was no cheating, no leeway that they did. Like they went all out for this one movie. And yeah, like some moments it does feel very much 80s, but I feel like the world itself has enough of its own identity that you kind of accept that, oh no, this happens to be 2020 Neo Tokyo, its own fucking thing. Yeah. You know, kind of like how you see is it New York in Blade Runner, or like what city that is?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Like you see, like you, yeah, it doesn't even look like LA to me. like oh, that's the Blade Runner scene. That's not LA. That's how I kind of saw with this film. Like it's so much its own character that you know you don't pigeonhole it to when it was and how it kind of looks like.
Anybody else want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I agree that the anime, I think, holds up. There are some animes that I feel like that I've seen or cartoons in general, that at times I'm like, this is no longer a cartoon, right? I feel like my cartoons have to have a little bit of the grittiness for it to be like, oh yeah, this is what my heart, and maybe that's just part of nostalgia, but I think the anime itself, drawings, all that holds up, because it's its own style. It's what any anime, including Boondocks or anything that I see in today's day that says it's anime, what I hold up against, right? Stuff like Akira, drawing wise, or from that period. That's what I kind of hold everything else up next to, including some of the Ghibli or Ghibli, however you want to pronounce it. I always put that up against animes from like the 80s and 90s. I was going to mention also the only time that I feel it was computer generated was the wavelengths, which I was like, this is really trippy. You know, how hard this must have been in 88, or at what point someone's like, you know what we should do? I know we've been hand drawing all this. How about let's play a little bit with a computer? So yeah, the colors I think are great, and I think that holds up. Again, story-wise, there might be better ways of, or smoother ways of telling the story, and maybe some of the stuff that was left out, because the manga, of course, the manga was from 82 to 1990. So it just has a whole lot of time to really explore all the characters and not just try to focus. Especially some of the female characters are just kind of, you're the love interest, or you're the this and stuff like that. So,
let's come back to that.
Yeah.
Let's finish up on the animation. Anybody else want to jump on that?
I agree with JP. Can y'all hear me? Okay. I agree with JP and Dino about the animation. It holds up to par to its age now. It's actually like a pioneer in many things. Like there's scenes where I recognize other people use it in. So it's like the good, the bad, and the ugly, where they reference this film and use it for multiple things. So it holds up to its like anime standard, if you say.
Would you guys say that this is like probably one of like the godfathers of anime? Like, I'm not a huge anime fan. I've seen enough of it though, but this always seems like one of the movies that comes off as like, you know, like the one of the granddaddies of anime, and like maybe opened up a lot of doors for more animes to come. Would you guys say that that's accurate for the anime fans here?
Personally, I cannot say that just because I'm not anime history buff. But
Mhm.
I do have a friend that he probably knows more anime history than real history. So if anytime I can bring him on and he can school you on that.
Call them right now and see if he
Phone a
agrees.
friend.
Or yeah, text him.
Use your phone a friend. You only get one a season.
I wouldn't say like I'm a fan or connoisseur. I've just dabbled a little.
Yeah.
I've done like a flight of beers, you know, at a brewery. I'll say I've done a flight of anime, like just a little taster. But I do agree. I feel like it's this. I feel like it's Akira and it's Ghost in Shell and maybe like one other anime are like the, you know, the trifecta of what all other, you know, animes kind of try to become or try to appear. And especially in the what is it, punk rock scene, Akira really kind of took off also. Yeah. And yeah, that I feel the most recent use of Akira was in Ready Player One. Not just in the movie, but in the book, they go a little bit more. The book is way better also. Side note, they go into Akira more and, you know, breaking down the motorcycle. I mean, that's like that and like the Tron motorcycle. Those two things are like late
two
80s.
iconic motorcycles.
Yeah, 80s, early 90s, you know, just like everyone wanted something like that. So
Yeah.
So there's something. Oh, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, so like for sure, like it transcended like from where it was at, because there's a few. I don't think there's that many animes where like it's popular in the culture, like in both cultures, in both Japanese culture and American cultures. Because like Dino said, like for me, I would have to say like each decade so far has had their own anime for sure. It's like, oh, this is gonna be the big thing. Like this one for sure in the 80s, Ghost in the Shell in the 90s. The early 2000s was probably Spirited Away, and even the 2010s. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was basically like to break the pattern. It was literally a romantic like thriller. Like that's what it like the one that was in the 2010s. I don't even remember its name.
Was it Perfect Blue or something like that?
You know, it was one of those films where like it's 2 words and it's a nice little sentence. One of those films. I don't recall for sure, but like yeah, like because like I said before, like you see it a lot in not only the Japanese pop culture, like being referenced to or even satirized. You see it a lot also in American culture as well. So like I think it's fair to say like yeah, this is for sure one of the top big boys or even the granddaddies to like show like what anime would eventually become and mean to like Americans, you know.
Thank you. A couple of you had like pretty strong visceral reactions to the film, which I think are interesting. I want to touch on that a little bit. And Naomi and Steve both said that it like gave you guys anxiety, which is a pretty strong emotion to have for animation, because it's like it's not just a movie where really you know a movie isn't real, but this is like double you know it's not real. Like someone drew it, right? Cartoon, and you're like, oh, this cartoon's making my blood feel funny.
Yeah.
Isaac, touch on that a little bit. Did you have any emotional or a visceral reaction to having saw this movie? Did it inspire any feelings in you?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, like double not being real because it's an animated movie. But like I don't know, when I was a kid and I saw like a really violent scene, it's like cartoons were not supposed to do that. And then I see that and it just like shocked me, but I liked it. Like it was like something new or like a different flavor. I mean, I probably shouldn't have liked it as a kid, but no, like in my second viewing, and then my most recent one, it's like the tone or something. And also the setting, like it's just gross looking. It doesn't look like what you would think Tokyo would look like now or in their future. It's like a dystopian society, and it's just like it really nailed that that feeling that they were going for. It's just like a depressing That was just my. I don't know. I think it was the setting that's attributed to the setting, the tone that they set, and the violence. That's why I was just like, it was just intense for me, which is something that not a lot of movies can do. Which is other than like Kubrick or something, but this was. It definitely gave me that feeling.
Yeah.
We're talking about the emotional aesthetic to the movie. We'll call it that. Anybody else have any emotional or visceral reaction?
It was insane because like I said, like even as a little kid, when I do remember watching parts of it, at least, like like in American cartoons and like stuff people are used to, you drop an anvil on Wile E. Coyote, you know he's fine.
Yeah.
But like the violence in this movie, as fantastical as it can be, it could also be fucking real. Like when I think the Tetsuo and his girlfriend Harui, I think was her name, when they take their friend's the red bike, when he gets out of the hospital and they get ganged and they get beaten up by this rival motorcycle gang, like he fucking whacks him with a pike to the head, and you feel that. And that's like maybe the third time that you see someone get fucking smacked with a lead pipe, you know. But they took a moment to actually like live in that. And then his girlfriend, like, she's basically being raped, you know, like it's an attempted rape, and they fucking sucker punched her in the face in that one moment, and that felt so real. And then when you see like the consequence of that, her face all puffed up and bruised, it's like, oh my god, like the passage of time even kept up with that too. It's like, you know, like she's not bruised in that moment because it just happened, but of course her body's reacting to what just fucking happened to her. And like it's crazy because like even in cinema, when something violent happens, like it tends to just happen in a second and that's it. But this film, like sometimes it loves to fucking live in it, especially. And the most unreal moment is when, you know, like he, like, spoiler alert, when he, the kid, and I think Akira, for some reason, when they all somehow morphed before engulfing in this weird black hole, you see the kid, the Tetsuo kid, like he's turning into this huge monstrous tumor, then into a baby, then again trying to go back to his original form. And you see all the veins and pus and blood coming out of him. Like, like you're in that for a good like 5 minutes, and they even put 2 fucking characters in it, and one of them straight up dies. Like, you see her fucking explode in this fucking mass, and it's like, in your mind, it's like, oh my god, why is this fucking happening right now? And you know, it just keeps on going, you know. Like,
you know, that is the reason that I didn't watch the movie like 20 years ago. A buddy of mine in high school was telling me like, oh no, you need to check this movie out. You got to check this movie out. I'm like, yeah, okay. I seen the video box 1,000 times, and then I saw like that clip, and I was like, no, not tonight. I can't.
Bro,
I thought it was like a cool motorcycle story, and then I see like this morphing brain goo thing. I'm like,
Yo, so Oyola was supposed to be here, but he has rehearsals.
Mhm.
But when I told him about the movie we were watching, he was like, "Oh my god, I love Akira! Like Akira is like one of my favorite movies." And when I saw the act, because I I'd never seen the movie, so when I actually saw the movie, I was like, "Why? Like, why is this your favorite? Like, you fucking psychopath? What?" So
this is actually my little sister's favorite movie too, and she's an animator.
Oh wow!
Is she a psychopath?
Maybe. You never know these days.
you know, whoever
Creeps
takes
up on
the
you
time,
sometimes.
whoever takes the time to draw fucking 25 drawings for 1 second of film, they're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how cute it is.
I think that checks out. Yeah. So, I want to hear from Dino. I know Steve and Naomi said that they had emotional reactions to this, but Dino, you didn't particularly care for the movie. So, would it be safe to say that you didn't have any emotional reaction to the movie, or am I wrong in that assumption?
Yeah, I was watching it, but those little kids were just super creepy.
So the movie was too scary for you, and you're like,
no. Because like them having that reaction to like the blob and all that, I was kind of like, you know. But yeah, there's something with other animes that I've watched, I've felt more of a connection. And of course, then you even have something as silly as Cowboy Bebop, right? But some of the other animes, I feel that have I've felt more of a connection with, and somehow with this one, as much as it also made me think of A Clockwork Orange, right? Because there's that high level of violence and stuff like that, and pill popping. I don't know if what took me out a little bit was that I read, I don't know, like I even only read like a quarter of the manga, but maybe because I saw that there was so much more stuff that could have been put in, I was just, yeah, I didn't get moved that much, or I felt there was maybe a lot of dead space that I could have seen some other stuff. But then again, if you have to draw, I don't know how many drawings to keep in 1 second, maybe that's why, yeah, it's weird because I love some of the visuals of it, but it just never kind of grabbed me, it definitely felt a little bit more of homework for me, which is sad.
You know what I think? I think the animators of this movie, that's how they felt in reality drawing all this stuff, And maybe that's why they put all that stuff, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I kind of fall into like Steve and Naomi and Isaac and JP's category a little more than Dino's, because I kind of had some reactions to the movie too. I actually caught myself pausing it. I paused like 2 or 3 times. I was making excuses for myself, like, oh, let me go grab a snack. You know what I mean? But the truth was, like, I sort of needed a break. Not because I didn't think it was good, because there was a lot happening. I was like, I need to process this. And I actually rewinded a few times to make sure I understood what was going on, because there's a lot of information they throw at you during this thing. Who do you guys think the lead is in this movie?
First off, I didn't know we were able to pause it. I thought we were supposed to try and watch it all in one sitting. From now on, I'm gonna pause as many times as.
Oh yeah, it's your remote control, baby. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, we're not doing a watch party. Everybody's like watching it individually.
Okay.
There's people that have already admitted that they watched a part of the movie a night and then they finish it the next night.
We have people who stopped entirely.
I think Kaneda is the lead of the.
I mean, I didn't watch The Platform even up to this day after the review. I still haven't watched it.
And you did well that day.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Steve, you would really like The Platform. You said that you think Kaneda is the lead. Who's Kaneda?
The guy that
the pill popping jacket wearing guy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his name was Tatsu or
No. That's the month. Yeah.
Kaneda.
Yeah.
Kaneda. I feel like he's the lead.
Okay. As I'm watching the movie, like 30 minutes in, I'm like, where is Ikura? Where is he? I didn't know. I'm like, who is it? What is it? Like, where's this person? The whole movie. Until they finally explained, like, he was in a glass jar the whole time.
I feel like that's a very Japanese thing. I was thinking of that when I was watching this. Because I was thinking of Zelda. And growing up as a little boy and all that, I was like, oh, you're Zelda. And I was like, no, Zelda is a girl. You're Link. And I was like, well, then why you don't see Zelda until the very end? Why are you even, So I feel like Japanese just have that thing, like, we'll name this, and you won't see them until maybe ever.
Right.
I mean, you know what this movie does really well? I always thought Akira was the Kaneda character, the red pill jacket guy. I always thought that was Akira. But what this movie really does well, that most great action movies do, is that they have a super great villain. And the villain is like the antithesis for the whole story. And you can't have a great hero without a great villain. And the villain is way more powerful than the hero. And the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking, Kaneda is a certified badass. He is not afraid of this guy who is destroying the Japanese army.
He has no powers. He just shows up
He's got nothing going for him. Nothing.
Yeah.
Before he gets to the fight, he steals a gun on his way to the fight. So he was going to the fight empty-handed. He's like, I'm going to beat my teenage friend's tail with nothing, even though he's destroying Tokyo. Like, this dude is the coolest guy ever.
That comes with that parentless youth that I mentioned. Like, everyone did. It was what, World War III? They lost their parents. Most of them did. So it's just like they didn't have that factor of like, take it easy. I have incoming food, or you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to go seek their own food. They were like homeless, or whatever. Not homeless. What's this word?
Orphans.
Orphans. Yes, they were orphans. So it's like they had to fight their way into the world. They weren't like guided. This is how you fight in the world. You know what I'm saying? So they were just like ruthless motherfuckers. So they were. Kaneda's awesome.
Yeah, I think his motto was like, "Give me liberty or give me death," pretty much, because it's just like he got nothing. He got nothing to lose. It's just like either I exterminate this thing and make a better world and try to fight the system this way, or I die, because regardless, this world is fucked up. So,
you know, I want to piggyback on that for a sec, Steve. This world is jacked up, right? There's a lot of social commentary in the movie. Were you guys able to pinpoint any of it?
It's like
police brutality, or is that what you're? That's
well, yeah. There's police brutality. There's social unrest and protests in the movie. I think the movie is kind of a social statement to orphans, honestly, in the treatment of children who don't have parents, because they end up using these kids to do experiments on them and give them powers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they were just being used, and then the other kids on the other side of that spectrum who are also orphans, but they made it to become teenagers. You know, the whole reason he destroys Tokyo essentially is because he's bullied as a kid and treated bad at this orphanage and at these foster homes. So I think the movie is definitely trying to make a statement around that entire environment.
You also got to think about it. The only country that a nuclear weapon has been used on has been Japan. And I know that Godzilla is basically, all that was allegory with the nuclear bomb, right? And then that has been kind of evolved. So when you see stuff like that, like New Tokyo or whatever, or New Tokyo, it's like where, you know, it's this weird thing of like, let's look at the past, kind of a historification, but how can we now put that in with the present and put it into the future, right? And it's student protesting, like young people. This was, it's
government corruption.
Yeah, and what's mind blowing, the whole idea of talking
over
about like,
militarization. Keep going.
Right. Are you sure? You want to? I guess I'll talk while you're drinking.
It's endless.
We live in a society.
Yeah. But like, if it still like makes sense, and the sad part is that it does, because clearly, we just keep repeating the same stuff over and over, and it's one of those things where whether it's through the environment, whether it's was it Beirut where the port blew up? Like, imagine that. Imagine how many people are being displaced by that, right? And so I think a lot of the stuff in this movie is still very, very topical today. And is it man-made? Is it nature, or is it nurture, right? And most of the time with these evil stuff, it's always nurture. You know, there's always someone behind it. What was the question?
Well, you know, I love something that you said there, Dino. You said that Japan is the only country that had a straight up nuke dropped on it.
Two.
Two. And
this film gave him two more.
Japan is a pretty well-adjusted country considering they had A-bombs dropped on them, right? and that's got to do something to the psyche of a nation. And that doesn't necessarily go away. There's like radiation and poisoning for decades and decades to come, and that's going to bleed into all of the social commentary. That's going to bleed into everything you do. And there's from time to time I see films that do kind of mention that you can't just let that part of your history go. Do you guys have any thoughts about that?
Well, they used body horror, like where they mixed organic matter of a human flesh with like industrial parts, and that like has to do with like the reminiscent deformations the Japanese suffered due to the radiation of the atomic bombs. So it's just like I don't know, like idea of this is how it went or this is how it is, and you know what I'm saying? Like that makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, that they introduced actually body horror to the world, which is like that flesh and organic. I mean the flesh and the industrial parts. A lot of people in Comic-Con dress up as Akira. I mean Tetsuo. Anyway,
yeah.
No, you mean Kaneda or the actual?
Tetsuo. Yeah, like I've seen images of like them with the little red cape and just like that.
Yeah.
So
Naomi,
go ahead.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up, like the body horror and like the deformations, because I think that was the first time that the world really saw the effects of radiation and what it can do, and associate it with something as big as the event that took place that day. So, and then have like Jason, you mentioned, I mean that is going to be in the back of their minds, and I mean, even what was it? What was that one about? It wasn't Spirited Away. It was like it was a little girl. It might have been. It was like a
little fish.
It was like this big black monster with a white mask.
Oh no, that was from Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
No face.
Right, and I read that was even a commentary on the end of World War II and what it left Japan in, like having to do with consumerism and all this stuff. So yeah, I can. Right, exactly, and I could see that with one of the themes in Akira. So totally with you.
All right, let's change the gears a little bit if we could. Did you guys watch the movie subtitled or dubbed?
Oh, good question.
Dubbed.
I've seen all three versions of it.
Yeah.
The subtitled and the two dubbed. For nostalgic reasons, I like the original 1987 English dub, but I like hearing like the authentic voices and what's really scripted, rather than like the adjustments.
I watched it dubbed just because I was not in the mood to be reading subtitles.
Is there an Espanol dub?
Yeah, there's got to be one. I don't know where to look for it, but I'm pretty sure there's one.
If there's not one, I'll make one.
Yeah,
by yourself tonight.
Real.
Hey, I can flip that. I can flip that online. You know what I'm saying?
You could for sure.
Well, interesting enough, just because we brought up Guarani before we started recording.
There's a Guarani version?
Well, there are people in Paraguay that have been dubbing their own like Dragon Ball Z cartoons into Guarani, which is the indigenous language in Paraguay. So that's a really side note. So I'm sure
That's
awesome.
That is
and I've seen some. I mean, they're not full episodes; they're just like clips here and there. But I mean, to hear your own language in something like that is
powerful.
pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I cheated. I watched the English dub. I can't tell you what year it was. It's whatever the Hulu. It's whatever Hulu English dub has. I watched it during siesta time, and I was like, I want to be able to just listen to it. And then I even laid down on the couch, and I was about to pass out, and I was like, I gotta sit up. I gotta do, so. Yeah, I watched the dub, but I usually prefer the Japanese and just reading it.
I commend you because this is a hard movie to pass out on. Like,
Really?
bro, I had to walk. I legit had to like walk around and like do stuff because I was getting like so much.
I held my
anxiety.
head. I held my head a couple times. Like, what am I watching?
Gosh.
Oh, really? Am I the only one that's like kind of seen it and like, oh, I could have. This is just taking me out. I'm the only
I was
one.
pretty
I
on
guess.
board with it, man. I wasn't really bored at all.
What happened to those other characters? Where did the Ryu guy go? Oh, he did. That's okay. Doesn't
So here's a
matter.
little fun fact. This is the first Japanese animation where the voiceover, the VO, is recorded in its entirety before there was any animation work done.
True.
Oh wow.
I read that too.
okay.
I guess that's the reason why it gave me so much anxiety, because they recorded it first. They had to create that tone and emphasis of like.
The actors created the movie, and the
Yeah.
director, obviously, yeah.
Well, but they have the whole manga, and the creator of the manga was very involved with the anime as well. So I can see that really working if they were like, this is the script we want to go for, and let's do it, right?
Mhm.
I wonder if that's cheaper on the back then.
I
if-
can't.
I don't know.
If at that point you're just like, we're lock and loaded, no reshoots, this is it.
By the way, for viewers that are not familiar with anime and stuff like that, what is manga? Because manga in Puerto Rico is this part of the shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so
you're
same
right.
in Paraguay. This is a manga, and then a mango you eat. So I mean,
But that's at the end.
Well, Isaac, you read the mangas. What's a manga?
Japanese comic book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is normally we would maybe if maybe Isaac you would agree to this, is more on the style of what we think of graphic novels being.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not cartoonish. It's more on the realistic kind of drawing, or at least that's how it started. Clearly, it's
Yeah.
cartoony, but
I always confuse hentai and manga.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
That's
Wait, I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's a strong confusion.
That's why I'm blushing.
Google
Wait.
never forgets.
Wait, what is it?
Hentai is the adult anime industry.
Ah,
It is
okay.
it is both adult anime.
Right, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, JP's
Alphabets.
definitely qualified to say the definition.
I'm sure he has a background ready to pop up of it. at any
Oh,
point.
no.
You guys don't know my secret Twitter handle. I was going back to the voiceover thing. I think that's weird because I think that is traditionally in Japanese animation, right? Where they do the animation first and then they do the voiceover. They do it differently here. It's always voiceover first, then animation, which is, I can only imagine being a Japanese voiceover artist. Like, that means you have to match up to whatever they drew. It's not the other way around. So that must be fucking hard.
Wait, did you say that the other way around? Are you talking about American cartoons?
Yeah, usually in the U.S., from my understanding, they record first, you get the voiceover first, and then they do the animation.
Yes.
But I think in Japanese anime, they do it the opposite. They do the animation first, and then they have the voiceover do it. And not only just for dubs, but also for the original as well, like for the Japanese recordings as well. Because that's what that was a fun fact, right? Like this was the
Yes.
first animation where they did the voiceover first and then the animation.
Yes, correct. That would be correct. Was there any characters that you guys identified with in this movie the most?
I mean, not necessarily identified, but one thing that I identify with, and this is because I've been like, as of late, I've been listening to too much Joe Rogan that I should like stop. And
Are you a fascist?
and
I would have never expected that coming out of your mouth. For I don't know why, but I just
And lately they've been talking a lot about aliens, right? About aliens are coming and all this stuff. And
what does he talk about?
so one thing that I identify with was the fact that they were used, like these little aliens, kids, whatever, they were using like their powers control to kind of like control people. To like kind of like go like, hey, say this stuff and move this way. When they were doing that type of stuff, I was like, and Joe Rogan has been talking about with other people something similar stuff about this type of stuff, that is like maybe our own thoughts don't come from us. They come from like extraterrestrial beings or something. And I'm like, yeah, because like sometimes I'm like, I'm doing stuff and I'm like in a flow and I'm like, was that me that really did that? Like, you know, when you drive and you get to a place and you go like, I don't even remember driving. Like that was like an autopilot or something. So just that, those things I identified a lot, because there's been moments in my life that I do stuff in like a crazy way that I'm like, no regular human being could do this amount of work or this amount of stuff or whatever. And then I go, was that me, or was that like something that took over me? So that's how I feel about that. So I identify with that part of the movie.
So you identify with the kids, basically.
Yeah. When they were getting taken over.
Right on. Anybody else?
I identify with Kaneda.
Yeah, the hero.
Cool, yeah.
Of course.
I don't know. I think I'm the individual that's bold and will step up if something comes across someone. Example, homeless man was trying to cross the street. However, his shopping cart got stuck and everyone was watching him. And I'm glancingly like reaching the 29th second and I grabbed his shopping cart and just pull it up. And everyone's like,
Oh, wow.
you could have helped him too. Why are you applauding me? Is what I told the guy that was applauding me. No toma tanto para, it doesn't take long to help someone, is what I said in Spanish. And they just looked at me, and it's just like I'm there with the group of people that are there for the good of, and the good of benefit for the others. So I'm Kaneda.
Right on. Straight up hero.
I imagine they were Spanish speakers, or maybe that's why they looked at you weird if you told them that in Spanish.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, because the dude was white, so I don't know. Maybe they were just, I don't know. They were kind of grossed out by the way he looked. I don't know. Just, I don't care about their physical appearance. I'm just going to help someone move the shopping cart.
You're a good person.
In the middle of the street. You know? I don't care if my hand is black right now. I have goo in my hand right now, but
you know, you're a really good person, because like recently I saw a homeless guy taking a shit on the street and I could have wiped him, but I was like, no.
Oh my god.
Man.
Well, you got a bidet, motherfucker. Give him that.
Give him your bidet.
I was gonna say, I would probably relate to in the one scene where that security guard goes to check up on Tetsuo and tries to put him back in his room. Like that, but then just gets turned into ketchup. Because like I'll just do my job and I'll still get fucked.
Yeah.
No.
I would like to think I would identify with Kay, the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wanting to do the right thing, right? Like having a purpose or a higher calling, right?
The
like,
social activist.
Right. Before it's cool to do that, right? Like, but Kaneda, all of them, there was something that happened for them to jump in. But we already meet her and Ryu and all that already working to try and make, try to change.
Make change, yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to see myself like that. But I question myself, would I be more like the colonel, right? Because
working for the military, just doing the man's work.
Follow the orders. To the point where then he like basically is like, when they try to get him to step down, he's like, oh, hell no. Like, you guys wanted this. I'm gonna finish it, right?
He even told someone to shoot the messenger. It's like, no, shoot this asshole.
Yeah, so I feel like I would like to be like Kay, but I might actually be the Colonel.
That's interesting.
Okay.
That's interesting. That's quite a duality right there. Seriously.
It's how we would like to see ourselves versus how we are.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
And they're both kind of the same character because they got kids running up their ass.
Yeah.
What?
Because the Colonel has to do with the fucking telepathic kids, and then you have Kay having to deal with the fucking biker kid. It's like, my job.
Oh, okay. How old is Kay?
20s.
She is definitely older than high school, and like that motherfucker.
She's probably college age, right?
Yeah, and then you see these other kids like, you guys are like junior high, right?
I assume they're like 16. Oh, they're 15?
Yeah, they bring up something like they're 15, and it's all like, I'm like, okay, this is very weird now that it's kind of like.
So obviously,
a 15-year-old boy flirting with a 20-year-old? I don't think that's that weird.
No, I see that.
15-year-old boy would definitely flirt with a 20-year-old.
Yeah, I hate teenagers. Fuck.
What about you, Isaac?
Who I most identify with?
Yeah, is there anybody?
Probably that guy in the very beginning that was rescuing that old man kid, and he was wasted right away. That's what I feel like.
Oh man, not the
yeah.
So you're trying to save the day right from the onset, like so that they're just, you're trying to make sure there doesn't need to be a story called Akira, and you just get wasted.
Right.
At least that dude took more bullets than the fucking Rio guy. One shot to the stomach and he was out.
True.
That guy got bombarded.
That poor dude. He had a bullet in him when the movie started.
Oh, I know he did.
As the credits were coming up, that dude had a bullet in his gut. I would most identify with Tatsu. Because I feel like Tatsu is the most human of everybody in the thing. You know, he was bullied, and once he was finally given power, it absolutely corrupted him, like right away. Because he's like, now I finally get to do what people have been doing to me forever. It's your classic bully tale, you know. The bully gets it at home, so he goes and gives it to the smallest kid at school, you know. But now everybody's the smallest kid at school for this guy. And he's going to, you know, make sure they all get the brunt of what he's been feeling his entire life as an orphan. I identify with him because ultimately I kept thinking, like, I'm not really the guy to root for the bad guy in the movie, but this time I kind of was. Because I'm like, yeah, man, all these police officers and all these government workers and all these military workers are like trying to jack you up, and you're just trying to get to school. Like, just kick they butts, man. You know, I identify with the man. I was like, because if I had the power, like right now that he had, I would correct everything that's going wrong. Like Superman, I would just go straight to the White House. Like, hey, buddy, knock it off. It's over now. It's done. Everybody get your acts together.
He murked that poor bartender and his buddy, man. That was when I was like, oh, no, he didn't have to do that.
No remorse.
He turned into a real bad guy, didn't he?
No remorse.
At that point, yeah.
But if you know what? If they took that one scene out, you wouldn't have a lot of reason to hate him, would you?
He killed his girlfriend.
That part he did not mean.
Yeah.
I mean that part.
Yeah, she was squished.
Wait, he squished his girlfriend?
In the gelatimus part. Gelatimus.
Yeah.
He was in the wrong pour and she became
Wait, there was gelato in the movie?
He couldn't control it. He couldn't control it at that point. He was out of control.
Speaking of getting other parts, just got a deja vu from the just now and Steve saying gelato. So in the manga, there are different, you know, like different people either die in different ways, or there isn't necessarily one. Here we kind of follow more Kaneda, but in the manga, you get to see more of everyone, even other gangs. You get to see more of like the clown gang and stuff like that, and there's way more pill popping going on in the manga than in the anime for sure. But yeah, I feel like Tetsuo. I don't. You see, you're saying you see yourself more with him, but Kaneda was trying to help him. That's all he was trying to do the whole time. Every time he was trying to help him, he's like spitting in his face.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And
You could tell Tetsuo's energy from the beginning of the film when he was just like rubbing that fool's bike. Like, there was just like jealousy on
Yeah,
him. Like,
he had envy on him, didn't he?
Even when he had powers, he was like, "Bring me that bike."
Yeah, he like bring me that bike, and then like any envious person, they're like, well, we're not telling you where the bike is. F off. He goes, it was a trash bike anyways. Like, why do you even need that bike and you can fly? Like, that bike is trash at that point.
Mhm.
So here's another fun fact. There has been an Akira live action movie script floating around Hollywood for almost 30 years now. It's never been produced. It's been bought by so many people. It's been traded hands. Like Brad Pitt owned it for a while. DiCaprio owned it for a while. They had attached like Garrett Hudlin for a little bit. It's been in multiple hands throughout the years. Would you guys want to see an Akira live action film?
If it ain't Christopher Nolan, I don't want to watch it.
I thought there was a movie already that came out. Was there not?
Wait, what's the name of the guy that did the Avatar stuff that he goes underwater?
James.
James Cameron.
Yeah, maybe he can pull it off. You know.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just let someone in Japan make it that is more connected to the source material, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we need to get M. Night Shyamalan or whatever doing kind of like an Airbender or something like that?
Someone call Scarlett Johansson.
Get Johansson on the phone.
Hey, she knows about the pleasures in life. So.
She'll know what to do. Just
Hey,
give her the script.
now that they supposedly changed the rules of the Oscars, you know, they gotta have this movie might be made, you know, because they need diversity.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
This will be a huge hiring situation for Hollywood in general. It's like a 1,000-person job, probably.
You know what could make or break this is the live action Cowboy Bebop that Netflix is. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, is it a series or is it a film?
Series.
I might watch that one. Yeah.
So I mean, you could easily change Akira to a series also, right? Live action series, but
Because Americans could do it. Like, look, have you seen the live action Dragon Ball Z?
Oh yeah.
No.
It's like top 3 on the top movies on IMDb. You know.
What if Wes Anderson
The bottom 3.
made it? What if Wes Anderson made it?
It would be very, very different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it though.
For a second, I was like, how can he make it? Because he's dead. But it's Wes Craven who I was thinking, and I was like, Wes Craven, Akira? I was like, okay, I guess
That'd be closer to what the film is.
Okay, I'm going to read a quote from the movie, and I want you guys to give me your reaction to it. Anybody who wants to speak up can. The quote is, because someday we ought to be able to, because it has already begun.
Can you repeat it?
Mm-hmm. Because someday we ought to be able to, because it has already begun. You guys remember that?
It's like the one of those lines.
Man, they said it twice.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Can I know where they said it?
Yeah. It's both times. It's near the end. It's the little girl that says it. And she says it like as they start to form, and then she says it again like as the movie transitions out. Because someday we ought to be able to, because it has already begun. It's like when they started to form the universe and like meld together or whatever. What do you guys think of that? I had some opinions about it, but I wanted to know if anybody else picked up on anything.
Well, I have to say that I have to get ready for work right now. So I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, please. You know what? You go ahead and do that. And if you got time, you can give us your last final reaction of the movie.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, like it just going back to the World War II thing and what Japan went through, but like what I'm thinking about is like the civil rights movement and how back in the 40s they were gearing up to make the move, but then World War II happened. I think so many of us know exactly what to do, but we just need that push. And the quote meaning that it's already begun. It's like when are we going to like come together as a whole and just do what we all know is right? But I don't know. It's weird because like talking to so many people, especially in this political climate, it's like everyone has their own perspective of what the right thing to do is, and I don't know. It's so like mind-boggling how something is so simple is just so foreign to people.
That's a really great perspective, man. I hadn't even thought about that yet.
Thank you. But my reactions to the whole movie.
Yeah. Final thoughts about the movie. Would you recommend it to anybody? Would you watch it again?
Oh yeah, totally. It's something I always revisit, and it's something I'd recommend to anybody. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to my grandmother because she just wouldn't understand or appreciate it. But like kids, you know, I mean, it's just
she will have a heart attack.
I know. But
what's the youngest kid you would recommend it to? What's the age range here?
Like, I think 10, maybe 9 if they 10. My nephew's age. But like, I mean, there's just on so many levels. It's just a monumental achievement on like the visuals, the presentation, and like that quote. I mean, you can just it means something to everybody. I'm so sure someone could take something out of it, and you know, it can cause them to think, and it's something, you know. I mean, in Japan, it's not as simple. Like, it's not childish. Like, cartoons are like made for adults over there, whereas over here. But I think it can change a lot of people's perspective. So, a definite recommendation for me for almost anybody.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Isaac. We'll let you get off to work whenever you need to, man.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys at the next meeting. Things have been kind of hectic, but I'll see you guys. Take care.
All right. Take it here, bud.
I'll go next because people are yelling at me because lamb is ready.
Yeah, please go ahead. The same question for you, Dino.
So I was just thinking of this, and the kids are the future, right? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of all seemed to kind of click at once of just like, yeah, those little creepy little kids, and the quote that you gave, it's like, and at the beginning, like the protests and all that are students, right? I mean, it's a combination of stuff, but students are also protesting. And I think so many times in history, we've seen that the youth or younger people are ready to change, whereas the older people and the government, all that, are not ready. And I feel that's always been the struggle, right? Like, we find as younger people, like, actually this would work better. Actually, racism is not cool. Actually, you can like insert all different things. And then it made me think about same thing as war and these different powers and all that, of just like, anyone ever stop and think about the kids, right? Mm-hmm. Ever? And countries and just organizations and all that just jump in without even thinking usually, or that's what it looks like, right? When we sit back and look at it, we don't. At what point do you think of other people? And so I feel that those lines have to do with what's happening, and regardless whether you're ready for change is happening. Change is constantly happening. By the time that we realize that it's happening, it's already too late. You were also bringing up the video about the guy talking about global warming or just environmental change and all that, and when we should have been paying attention to it and stuff like that. It's never stopping, and we gotta listen to kids, and just it just makes me think about like different periods in South America during the dictatorship, and college students speaking up and coming up, and then that kind of during the 60s, similar time periods with civil rights movements, and it's usually around the same age group, right? It's always that, I guess it starts right around when you're like 15 and when you're like, I don't know, 28, and somewhere in that age group, right, is where people are ready for change, or they're ready to try something new, and it's everyone above that is not cool with it. So that's what those lines made me think of it, and just like with everything going on right now, it's just like, what are you gonna? Not that I have kids, but if I were to have kids or grandkids or nephews, or 20 years from now, what am I gonna tell them that I was trying to do? With the shit that happens 20 years from now that we might not even realize has happened. But what am I going to be able to tell them that I tried to do something? So that the movie has a lot of meaning. And I guess final thoughts is still not for me, but I would definitely recommend it as an anime, as a classic, as a if you're into animes or you want to get into animes, check it out. It was the same thing with Ghost in Shell. It just, I don't know, there's something that just kind of those animes which are like the top 3 or of animes, just kind of and somehow it's ingrained in my mind with the time period of my youth in Paraguay, watching stuff when it's really hot during siesta time and me falling asleep, that I think has been ingrained. And when I try to watch those things, I just like, I'm really sleepy. But I don't know. That was a lot right
Before
there.
I let you go, I want to ask everybody the same question, but before I let you go, what's your favorite? I missed Isaac, unfortunately. What's your favorite all-time anime?
Series-wise, I think it would have to be Cowboy Bebop, without a doubt, right? That's one that also kind of just like turned it completely and like, this can be a cartoon, right? It's like pre-Pixar, pre all these like, oh, cartoons can be fun for adults too, or and so that movie one, oh man,
You're really into cowboys, man.
Well, Cowboy Bebop has a movie.
right, and well, not only that, but Cowboy Bebop, it's like Star Wars. Have you seen Cowboy Bebop, or are you just saying that because Cowboy is in the title?
Because he's in the title.
All right, so you have no idea. Cowboy Bebop is closer to Star Wars than it is to Western.
I mean, Star Wars is kind of a Western.
It is.
Okay.
Hey man, whose side are you on?
All of them.
Kind of like Firefly in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Movie-wise, though, it would have to be one of the Ghibli ones, or I can't believe I can. Goobly.
I don't even know anymore.
I don't know what it is.
But if not, I can't think. So I've had a couple of beers, but there's this
You're not alone on that one. Me too.
there's this. If oh my god, I can't believe I didn't have it prepared. There's this anime. It's about they're all like post-apocalyptic kind of movies, and this one's about car racing, and it took almost like 10 years to make, and it bankrupted the production company, and the anime is just ridiculous. So someone
Speed
go
Racer?
and Speed Racer. Someone go and I'll bring up the name of that movie. I gotta look up the title.
All right, so let's go back to the quote, if you guys don't mind.
With the quote. Yeah, can you repeat that quote?
Yeah. The quote was, because someday we ought to be able to, because it has already begun.
I feel as if they're speaking about or referencing of Big Brother, or like the big thing that watches us. And they're, ¿cómo digo esto? Oh my God, let me say it in Spanish. Is that okay?
Sure.
Translate it. So, hay un being alto que nosotros que nos mira. So, todos tenemos ese poder. We all have that power. However, we already are doing it, and someday we ought to. So the ones that are already doing it are those people that are being human experimented on, and the ones that are ought to are the ones that haven't found spirituality or a conditioned mind of like capitalistic greed or whatever, materialistic mind. I don't know. That's how I process that. So
That's interesting.
that's just my opinion. And what was the other question? No, that was just it, right?
We'll come back to those.
Okay, I found it. I found the title.
Uh-huh.
It's called Red Line. It's this. Think of Episode 1 Star Wars of the pod racers, but in an anime, but on acid.
My brother just recommended me that movie over dinner tonight.
It is. I mean, it is just visually like
What
if
is
you
the name
want
of
to.
it? Type it on the chat.
It's Red Line.
Oh, I
Is
take
this-
that. I taken that metro thing.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I've taken the one in Chicago, but that one,
He's recommending the Metro line.
yeah. You take and you know you can take Red Line sober, and it's going to be trippy as hell. Or if you want to induce in some sort of socially accepted substance, it's just also gonna add to it. So that check out Red Line. It's just visually.
Oh, okay. I remember the movie poster. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, check out Red Line. That's one of my top animes just because it's so mind-blowing. And I completely destroyed the production company because I just went so over budget and over time. All right. Bye, guys. Sorry I can stick around.
Buen
Peace,
provecho.
love, mucho, mucho, mucho amor.
Enjoy your lamb.
All right. We just got word from Naomi just before we heard Dino's last recommendation. JP, why don't you tell us? What did you have any feeling about the quote?
Well, not at the moment because it was very confusing to me. But now looking back on it, like the film does end with literally saying, like, supposedly what happened to the kids and Tetsuo is that they literally created a universe again. Like wherever they went, they literally created their own universe. And the film, like when I was watching the film, the visuals, because it almost ends with stars, but before then you see the transition of lights and just red and black and then the void and then stars. And like in my mind, I was like, that kind of looks like how I would imagine how life begins and how death starts, or death ends, like I could imagine that. So I guess in a way it's almost like once you come to being, then do what you have to do. Cause like that's how I kind of saw it. And that them literally starting their own universe was almost like a reset. Like now they're going to start things all over again, but they're going to do it right. So I don't know, in a weird way, YOLO. But to that's how I see it. I mean, at the moment, I was again still very confused because in the English dub, it's said by all the kids, not just one. So I was really confused. Like, are they saying one thing together or are they saying a bunch of different things separately? But I guess to answer the second one, the recommendations. There's this one anime show that I haven't seen in a long time, but I do remember it leaving like an impact on me when I first saw it. It's a limited anime series called Now Then Here and There, in which the protagonist, he ends up being basically inadvertently transported into the future, like hundreds of years in the future, and he realizes that almost all life on Earth is almost dead except for this one tyrannical ruler in this huge like palace mega type thing, just slowly but surely conquering all of what was left of humanity. And there's also a fantasy element to it because water is something that they value the most in this world, and he finds the spirit that this tyrannical leader is trying to get that happens to create water. right? And like it's weird because it's a 3-part series, and each chapter is like its own thing. But like it's weird. It's like it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember like having such a reaction to it because like it shows the merciless of war, of death, how like whatever happens in life at the end of the day, that's kind of how it is, and you have to deal with it because you know it's just this kid in a normal day, modern day Japan being thrown into the apocalypse, and he has no idea what to do, but then he realizes through all these trials and errors, like you know, like what he's gonna have to do is just his best and just try to be as optimistic as he can, not only to stay home, to try to find his way back home, but try to do as what he could as a good person to better everyone else's situation.
Is
But
that a series or a movie?
it is a series. It's called Now Then Here and There.
Okay, I got it written down. I'll
And
check it out.
for the movie, much more lighthearted. It's Studio Ghibli's. It's
My
Porco,
Friend
not that one. But that one's a funny one. That was a good one. Well, mine is Porco Rosso, which is like it's kind of a melodrama. It's funny. It's basically about this this pilot who like he's living out his life just like trying to be a I don't want to say a mercenary or a bounty hunter, but he's basically a vigilante, and he's trying to right the wrongs and whatever like that in the world because he himself he feel like he has done wrong in the past. In fact, in the film, he's known as Porco because he has a pig for a head, and so he believes that what he did in his life before, that's the reason why he has a pig face, because he's cursed. But it has these air pirates. It has these. It's such a fun, cute movie. It really it's really good. Like out of all the Studio Ghibli movies that there is, like it's not the best, but it's personally my favorite one.
Write
So wait,
that in
is
the
it
chat
is
if
it
you would.
Studio Galbi or Studio Gilby?
I remember I pronounce it Ghibli. I don't know what the correct pronunciation
So
is, but
in the
I've always
documentary,
pronounced
I thought they
it
said Ghibli.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Or
Studio Galbi.
Ghibli or Ghibli.
But
Ghibli?
there's a GH. I don't know.
I don't
Oh,
know.
Ghibli.
I don't know which one Akira is made by. That one I don't know.
Let us know, people in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. Steve, did you have any comment about the quote or not? You don't have to, but if you got something, we'd love to hear it.
I mean, I didn't in the beginning, but now hearing people talk, you know, now I got some. You know what I'm saying?
All right, what do you got?
That's what happens when you step step aside in the bench and just hear people. You know, ideas
Yeah, that's what
flow.
we're here for. We're here to learn and hear people.
So for me, it's just that, you know, life as we know it has begun. Whether you were born 18 centuries ago or right now, whenever you pretty much open your eyes, it's right now, and you got to make the most out of it. And pretty much like understand the individual and also collective power that you have in this particular lifetime, because if you're not aware of that power that you already in like naturally by just being born and being a person have, other people that are aware that you're not aware of that power can take it from you. And that's what I mainly take from that quote.
That's pretty good, because there's a scene or a line in the movie where they say everybody is born with this power. They just don't realize it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insightful.
And that mainly, like the main reason I also talk about that is because I feel that way too. Like I feel even being, for example, financially literate, I'm still learning. I'm still learning so much, but already because I took the start of like, let's make this happen. I'm not going to wait till I'm 60 years old to get my financial life together or whatever. I now can see how just because I got started, I'm a little ahead of so many other people from like back home or even here that are much older than me and stuff like that, because they didn't create that self-awareness that they need to learn those certain skills in order for them to become like much better, I guess, skilled in different departments. And the more you realize that you can, all these things, like we're here to learn. we're literally here to learn. And the more you actually learn and apply those things, and you can also teach those things to others, so you can bring them to your level, or hopefully bring them like up a little bit of their level where they at, the more you can do. And yeah, and I see also where companies, businesses, MLMs, all sorts of things that are happening throughout the world, the majority of people, especially the businesses that have been prospering as of late. I mean, one, we can talk about Amazon right now. If you see the Amazon business model, like, it's an MLM in the sense of like the money is being made at the top, but the people at the bottom, the workers, they're just making like minimum wage, you know?
Mhm.
And the more you realize that a lot of that is basically other people taking advantage of other people, the more you could be aware of that, and the more you can remove yourself from those type of situations. Because that happened to me many times. Like I've worked at ridiculous amounts of jobs and stuff like that, but it was mainly because of the experience, because I wanted to have it. But if I would have be stuck in a job, like if I worked at Starbucks for 30 days, literally, because I couldn't handle it after 30 days. But if I would have gotten stuck there, and I'm like, okay, this is my job, this is my thing, other people would have taken so much advantage of me, being in an environment that I don't necessarily wanted to be in, but I needed the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens, unfortunately, to the poor class all around the world. And it's something that we can stop by increasing self-awareness. So that's what I think about that.
And do you have that's pretty good. Do you have a favorite anime?
Yeah, so my favorite anime is amazing. I definitely recommend. It's for all ages, honestly. It's called The Rugrats. So it's
Can you write it
basically
in the chat?
yeah. So is I think
don't want to play.
I think it's spelled like that. So
Rugrats?
yeah, the Rugrats. They're incredible.
That's
They're
not
babies.
an anime.
That's not an anime, but
That's
a
thank you for the
cartoon.
suggestion.
And no, I'm kidding. I'm just, I gotta let these jokes fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm not holding you back. I'm letting
I've
you
been
loose.
I've been isolated for too long. So,
Yeah. Classic
but
anime, the Rugrats.
no, I definitely recommend Dragon Ball Z to everybody. There's
Mhm.
so much to learn from there. But lately, what I'm really hooked on, my friend from Puerto Rico, one of my best friends since third grade, recommended me this, and I've been hooked with this series. It's a Netflix original, actually. It's called Seven Deadly Sins.
I heard of that.
And it's incredible. Specifically, like the first season and the second season is more like backstory, so you kind of go through that. But season 3 and season 4 that just got released, oh my god, it's so good. And it's basically based on like times before Christ, essentially, like super long time ago, when there's like all these primitive societies, but there was these goddesses and all these devils and like all these different people that were higher beings, sort of kind of like controlling the world at their own whims. And it's so good. I just can't recommend it enough, but I love that series. Ever since he showed me one episode from season 3, I was like, I'm gonna watch this. And they have a movie too, but the movie's the series is better.
For sure.
I haven't shared my favorite anime film.
Yeah, what is it?
So I've only seen like 4 animated anime films, and Akira is the 4th one.
Okay. And you're recommending Akira?
No, I don't recommend it. I like Spirited Away. I saw it when I was 10 years old, and during that time I was very like impacted by my mom's my great grandmother's death. So she was the one that helped raise my mom. So there was like this relationship of like, that's my mom's mom, even though it was her grandma. So I felt like when I watched that film, it related a lot with like my ancestry, my ancestors watching over me, and just like that spirit that stays within oneself, that like it's young. I don't know, like that's what I get off that movie. And That's my favorite anime film of all time. It's just pretty. The graphics
Awesome.
are pretty. Everything.
I tried to watch that. Oh no, never mind. I haven't tried to watch that one. I tried to watch Princess Mononoke, and I fell
That
asleep
one's
and,
intense. Oh, what?
and could not. It was too late at night when I tried to watch it.
Oh, that's a good one.
I didn't know it was like 3 hours until I was like an hour in. Like I was like, this isn't even like done with the first act yet. What? And then I looked at it. I'm like, 3 hours, and I couldn't hang. So I'll rephrase the quote, and then I'll give you guys my perspective. The quote was, "Because someday we ought to be able to, because it has already begun." Now, in the movie, when the little girl says that, they had just started to reform their own universe. And so it got me thinking, like, what does she mean? You know, so I rewinded that part and I had to like watch it again. And it got me thinking, like, when the universe was created, you know, the Big Bang Theory, all these atoms were pressed together and they created so much pressure. All these atoms and protons and whatnot were created so much pressure, it created a giant bang and exploded and it created the universe. When the universe was created, it just kept expanding. Uh, and that's what they did. They created their own universe. And what we know about the energy that created the universe is that we know energy can't be created and it can't be destroyed, right? It just always is. It's just a matter of how energy is channeled. So the energy that created the universe has always been here. It just had to like get pushed together in order to create the thing, right? So when these little kids created their own universe within each other, I think what she meant by saying because someday we ought to be able to, I think she meant we ought to be able to come back together at some point to create a thing that's going to create the change that we need. But at some point we'll come back together and we'll be powerful because it has already begun, because they already started the process of becoming the energy, becoming the light. And by bringing everything back together, you know, that's what the future is going to hold. That's what I got from it. I really liked JP's answer the best, but that's what I got. My favorite anime all time was Ninja Scrolls. Have you guys ever saw that one? Highly
Familiar
recommend.
with it, but no.
Highly recommend. It's so good. It's very violent. Just really cool though.
Can we decipher the dream?
The Dream.
Because the little old girl had a dream. Do you guys remember that? So I like Carl Jung, and he says that dreams are the psyche's attempt to communicate important things to the individual.
Mhm.
So in the dream, we see like broken asphalt. So if you dream about cracked asphalt,
Mhm.
it signals that you need to rearrange your priorities. It may not be reasonable for you to keep on pushing your priorities. So they were like pushing this agenda.
Mm.
So that's that dream deciphering that she had, because she
Yeah.
was like telekinetic. That meant she also had like prophetic dreams, to where the obviously they told the future. So there's people out there that have these prophetic dreams and they can foretell the future and even change their path. You know, I don't know. That's as far as I got. You guys,
As far as the dream interpreting.
yes.
Right on. That's actually pretty interesting. Like I never thought about interpreting the dream that she had, but yeah, there's tons of ways to interpret it. And if they followed that when they were writing that story, it's pretty brilliant. I kind of love it. Um, my favorite anime series, since you guys all had one, would probably be Trigon. I don't know if you guys ever heard that one or heard of it. Bash the
I
Stampede is super dope.
yeah, it's
Does
funny.
Pokemon count? I'm sorry.
I got history with that one because I was introduced to it on Adult Swim,
Mhm.
and my siblings were fans of that one. But I guess it was on like a late hour where whenever I try to watch it,
Mhm.
knocked out. I would always fall asleep.
Oh,
Like
it's so good.
I would try my best to watch it with them, but it was way too late for me.
I saw it so long ago that I saw it when Netflix were renting out only DVDs, and I had to
Yeah.
rent each DVD individually until I saw all 8 parts or whatever. Super fantastic. Highly recommend. So I guess that's our conclusion For Oedimilo's Cinema Club, this week's we reviewed Akira. Steve, can you tell us what we're doing next week?
Next week is Naomi's turn, so Naomi can say what's her movie.
Babel. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Babel. Babel. Babel.
Babel.
Babel. Oh, I knew I was pronouncing it wrong. Babel. That one.
That's the movie starring Brad Pitt and who's the woman in it?
Gael Garcia. There's a Mexican cast as well.
Gael Garcia, right?
I thought we were watching the Rugrats.
Kate Blanchett.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett. The girl from the Japanese actor, I forget her name. That was her star debut, by the way. Just saying.
All right, looking forward to it. I might have seen that movie before. Cool.
Awesome.
And we'll catch you next week with that new movie, Babel.
All
right, see you guys.
Peace.
Hey, I'm Isaac Valadez from Oyedimilo Network. I am the head videographer. You can click here to see more of my work and please subscribe.